I'm back! God, it's been almost a week. And I apologise for not being live over the last week. As many of you know, summer is my busiest time of year with work, so I have very little time with which to do live streams. However, that doesn't mean I'm not working in the background from an activism perspective. So I'm still carrying on the fight. I'm still doing stuff behind the scenes. I just don't always find the time to report on them here on my channel. So apologies, but glad we're here. It's been a week, and I'm probably going to be absent for another week after this, if I'm going to be honest. I'll try and fit in a live stream if I can, but it's going to be a busy week. So, I'm not holding up too much hope. But nonetheless, I have an update for you today. Obviously, last week, we were successful in our fight against Scientology's application for a protest ban here in the UK. Mid Sussex District Council rejected Scientology's application for a public spaces protection order, and what a day that was. And also, what's happened since? A large number of people have contacted me. I've also seen a lot of comments on social media from local residents and so on, and of course documents that have been unveiled as a result of this process. And it's definitely not looking good for Scientology when it comes to their relationship with local government. And today we're going to be talking about how it turns out Scientology tried to attack and target their own elected official and one of the most senior politicians in Sussex. It was, in my opinion, a bad move because it's only going to damage the relationship Scientology have with the local authority rather than going along with their safe pointing policy, which attempts to infiltrate and woo and give gifts to local officials and try and win them over. Instead, Scientology are just there burning bridges all day, every day with these officials, and it's all their own doing. And all you can do is laugh. Of course, it's funny that they're doing this to themselves. It's not funny for those who are on the receiving end of it. I've spoken before about my experience with Fair Game, Scientology's harassment and intimidation and constant smear campaign online is not pleasant to go through. But it does, of course, result in press coverage of their dirty tricks. So you've got to laugh, but it's not pleasant to go through. And it is, of course, still ongoing. And I am preparing for the next stage in their Fair Game attack because there's no way they're going to go and back down quietly after losing this protest ban. So I am reserved because I know they're going to hit back hard in the coming weeks and months. We'll just have to wait and see how and what exactly they do. But before we get started on this live stream, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Barbara Bornholt is here. Hello, everyone. Petrie Nart is here. Hey, hey, people. Becky Big Brother fan. Hello, everyone. Hi. Good to see some familiar faces. John is here saying hello, Alex. Hello, John. Selena saying Shamai. Hi, Selena. Good to see you. Mary Kay London. Hi from New Mexico. And of course, we have the wonderful SP Crusader Leanie in the house, who is a wonderful moderator, reminding everyone to please remember to hit the like and subscribe button. The majority of people that watch my videos are actually not subscribed to my channel. So if you're watching this and you're not already subscribed, hit that bell icon to make sure you get notifications. Subscribe, it's totally free, and it supports the channel, and it supports getting the message out there, and means that you will get notifications whenever I go live. Debbie Moore is here. Hi, Debbie. Thank you so much for joining. Good to see you here again over on X. We are streaming both to YouTube and to X here. So let's have a look at this article. This is my blog, Scientologybusiness.com. I have put the link in the description down below. And the headline is, Scientologists target local politician amid protest ban defeat. And that is a picture of Jackie Russell, who is a county councillor in Sussex. She is one of the most senior elected officials in the area of their UK headquarters. Let's read through this article. Scientologists in East Grinstead, Sussex have targeted a senior member of local government after she called for the removal of unauthorised structures erected by the group on public land outside the entrance to their UK headquarters. West Sussex County Councillor Jackie Russell, who holds a senior position as the Cabinet Member for Children, Young People and Learning, had asked the local Highways Department to inspect an overgrown bush, concealed fencing and wooden sleepers erected on the grass verge opposite their headquarters known as St Hill. Yes, folks, this is the return of Hedgegate. The hedge has gone now outside of St. Hill, but the tree stumps, the roots still remain. I understand work is still ongoing to remove all of the obstructions on that grass verge. Scientology admit that they planted this hedge and installed this fencing to limit the areas available for protesters to stand and in order to obstruct them. And they refused to remove it, even after West Sussex County Council told them that they had to remove it because it's public land. It's not on Scientology's land. They just planted a hedge on a footpath and blocked everybody's access and ability to use the footpath. It was outrageous. Yes, they removed it. There's a little bit more still to go. But yes, this is the return of Hedgegate. Cara here is saying, "Oh, my shrubbery, how I have missed you." Yes, this Hedgegate situation has been the source of many opportunities to refer to Monty Python's shrubbery sketch. I won't be playing the video today, but it was a funny reference nonetheless. Let's carry on. As a result, she has become the subject of a targeted campaign spearheaded by local Scientologists that questioned her impartiality as a counsellor and labelled her an anti-Scientologist. Back in December, we reported that after receiving a complaint from a member of the public, West Sussex Highways officials ordered Scientology to remove the unauthorised structures which prevented protesters from standing on the verge directly opposite the entrance to their property. After initially refusing to comply with the order, the church subsequently filed a complaint claiming the removal request amounted to discrimination and threatened the Highways Authority by telling an official to be very careful. Yes, that's right, folks. Scientology threatened the local council. Outrageous. How very unchurch-like, if you ask me. Councillor Russell, who represents the area in which St. Hill is located, explains, "I had undertaken to investigate the position with respect to the planting of the hedgerow on what is an official pedestrian refuge, and that I had also taken the opportunity to observe the IES event, which is the International Associations of Scientologists. That's the big annual gala they have every October, on its final evening for approximately an hour. Both matters are within my remit of my role and responsibilities." So, just to clarify, Jackie Russell, the local county councillor, did come along to the protest last year in October outside Scientology's headquarters. She wasn't there as a protester. She didn't hold a sign or chant or anything like that. And I didn't know she was coming. It was towards the end of the day, I believe, if I remember correctly, on I think it was the Sunday. And she just showed up and wanted to observe our activities as protesters. And she stayed there for, she said it was about an hour. I thought it was less than that. If I remember, she was only there for 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that. But nonetheless, because of the public spaces protection order that Scientology was seeking, and because the council were observing the protest, if the PSPO process was to have been voted to go ahead on Monday, what would have happened next is a public consultation period during which Jackie Russell, the local county councillor, would have been one of the stakeholders, one of the people that would have to give a response and an opinion on whether protesting should have been banned. So Jackie Russell obviously heard that we were protesting and this had been going on, and because she would have been one of the people to give a response, to be consulted on this, she wanted to show up to the protest and observe with her own eyes what was going on and to see what our behaviour was like and what the situation was like on the ground. I didn't invite her. I didn't know she was coming, and she just came along. She stood there. She watched what was going on. I had a very brief chat with her. She spoke to a couple of local passers-by and residents, as well as a couple of the protesters. I think she spoke to Scientology as well. I might be wrong, but she was there, and she watched what was going on, and she left. But as a result, Scientology targeted her and labelled her an anti-Scientologist. Let's carry on. She found herself the target of a petition submitted by local Scientologists, which questioned her impartiality and accused her of colluding with protesters who gathered in the area during Scientology's annual IES gala last October. And she said, "Whilst I won't go into specifics, this was a fairly recent submission. I can confirm that the nature of this petition reflected the concerns of some church members with respect to my impartiality as a local councillor." And here's a picture of the famous hedge that is the subject of Hedgegate. The church members felt I was, in essence, colluding with the protesters and therefore anti Scientologist. The petitioner was advised that this is not the case, and that as an elected member representing the residents of East Grinstead, any concern raised within my town, division, or county that is within my remit to investigate and will be investigated, irrespective of who has raised the issue or where they may reside. Due to the seriousness of the allegations contained within the petition, I referred the matter to the Director of Law at West Sussex for his consideration. I then responded to the lead petitioner with respect to the elements within the petition that related solely to the remit of my role, as I have no position on the matter of the dispute between protesters and the Church of Scientology. I think that's a very fair response. The attack comes amid rising tensions between Scientology and local government officials after Mid Sussex District Council, which sits under West Sussex County Council, voted to reject the church's application for a protest ban around their property. And for those of you watching from further afield, I just want to explain how local government works in the UK. At the lowest level, you have East Grinstead Town Council. They're the ones that look after very small, local, hyper-local issues, such as, planters in the town centre and very minimal impact, but they do have a say on planning laws and so on. Applications, sorry. Above them, they have Mid Sussex District Council, which looks after a larger area. They're the ones that reviewed the protest ban. They're the ones responsible for waste collection and planning matters and all that sort of thing. And then above that, you have West Sussex County Council, which is the highest level of government you can get to before you get to Parliament, which deals with matters on a national level. So it is a senior part of local government. And Jackie Russell is the county councillor. She's the one that represents East Grinstead and this whole area that we're talking about at a county level. She's one of the most senior politicians in local government. Let's have a look at some more comments before we carry on. We have Sam, the SP chef here. Good morning, afternoon or evening, as the time of day applies. Alex and the marvellous chat. Thank you so much and good to see you here. Becky says we are all anti their tactics and manipulation. Yes, we are not against their so-called religious beliefs. We're against their behaviours, and it's the abusive behaviours and bully tactics that we are protesting against. Nicole says Hedgegate reads like a political conspiracy. Alrighty, let's carry on with this article. Included in the evidence supplied by the church was a dossier containing personal, medical, and voting-related data about some of the protesters, which was criticised by the council leader as a potential data breach. In a statement at a cabinet meeting yesterday, Mr. Eggleston said, "We have been sent personal data which includes special category data, sensitive personal data on political affiliations and health, and data covered by Article 10 of GDPR, criminal offence data. For the life of me, I cannot see what the lawful basis for the processing of these categories of data is, even in the Scientologists retaining the files or making a disclosure to a third party." Mid Sussex District Council sits beneath West Sussex County Council. Here we go. I've just explained this bit. It's responsible for planning and licensing, whereas West Council is a wider geographical area and is the final tier of government before Parliament. Councillor Russell is one of the most senior politicians in Sussex and has served on the County Council since 2017, prior to which she served as leader of East Grinstead Town Council and chairman of their planning committee. She now has responsibility for children and young people in the county and sits on the West Sussex Health and Wellbeing Board, as well as acting as chairman of the corporate parenting panel. Although it is unclear whether the petition was filed by Scientologists acting independently or on behalf of the church itself, Scientology has a well-documented history of going after anybody it considers to be an enemy. According to policy written by founder L. Ron Hubbard, acting against the church's interests in any way earns you the designation of fair game, meaning you may be tricked, sued, lied to, or destroyed. Attacks on critics and former members are directed by a wing of the church known as the Office of Special Affairs, or OSA, which conducts covert intelligence gathering operations and keeps extensive records on opinion leaders and powerful local figures. Last year, we published an internal Scientology document which shows how profiles are kept on local councillors and government workers in order to assess how easily they can be influenced through a tactic called safe pointing. Similarly, records are kept on officials who do not toe the line unquestionably and who are as such considered a threat to the church's goal of asserting control over local government in order to bring about a Scientology world. Those are direct quotes from Scientology policy. I've linked to them in the article if you want to read the policies for yourself. The petition against Councillor Russell is the latest example of the church's increasingly hostile behaviour towards critics and local politicians. Last week, Scientology's lawyer withdrew their July 2024 protest ban application just days before the council were expected to vote on it. Councillors met on Monday regardless and formally rejected the application, marking the end of a nearly year-long process during which officials assessed more than 500 pages of evidence, hours of police body cam and live stream footage, and observations from a protest that took place at the property in October last year. The process came at a cost to the taxpayer of £84,000. Yes, that's right, folks. Scientology's failed bid for a protest ban cost the taxpayer £84,000. How much did Scientology pay in tax last year? Well, to the local authority, none, because Scientology's buildings are designated places of public worship. They are therefore exempt from business rates. And in fact, their corporation tax bill in 2023 came to just £1,653. That is how much tax Scientology paid in the year of 2023 here in the UK. And yes, they do have to pay tax because they are not a charity. Their application for charity status in 1999 was rejected because the Charity Commission found that Scientology is not beneficial to the public. In fact, it found that Scientology's practices were dangerous and harmful, in line with the 1984 High Court judge ruling, where Lord Justice Leahy ruled Scientology was dangerous, harmful, and sinister, and is out to capture people, especially children and impressionable young people. That court ruling, by the way, was not overturned when Scientology went to the Supreme Court here in the UK to try and gain status as a religion through its for the purposes of marriage and wedding ceremonies. So yes, Scientology buildings are considered places of worship, but it is still the view of the British judicial system that the practice of Scientology itself is harmful. I just wanted to point that out. So Scientology paid £1,600 in tax in 2023, and yet they are more than willing to waste £84,000 of taxpayer money in attempting to ban protesters, only for them to withdraw the application at the last minute after wasting everybody's time, after wasting the time of the councillors who were reviewing the evidence, after wasting the time of the officials who were reviewing the evidence, who observed the protests, and just because the report was published in advance and they realised they were going to lose their application, they decided to pull the plug at the last minute after costing the taxpayer £84,000. This is how Scientology operates, because that is who they are. That is what they do. And that is the exact behavior that we are protesting against. That is why we are out there protesting. We are saying this behavior needs to stop. Why don't you act more church-like if you're trying to be considered as a church? That's my point. Anyway, let's carry on with the last little bit of this article. On being targeted, Councillor Russell tells us the petitioner has received a full response from me on the matters I am able to respond to. The petition has not been accepted by the County Council, and it has not been possible for the County Council to write directly to the petitioner with any explanation, as I advised that I was aware that the postal address provided was incorrect. So not only did Scientology try to meddle with this councillor's position and try and get her sacked or fired, they also did so under a fake address. What? Typical Scientology. They can't even put the right address on the letter. They did it under a fake address. I don't know whether the name they used was real, but it was a fake address, according to Councillor Russell. And this is just egg on the face for Scientology. Guys, if you're going to try and get someone sacked from your job, at least put the right address on the letter. Come on, guys. Flunk is what I would say to the Office of Special Affairs. In contrast to Scientology's behaviour, Mid Sussex District Council officers noted at Monday's Cabinet meeting that protests at St Hill had been by and large peaceful, well-organised and good-natured. It is unclear what the church are seeking to achieve by attacking rather than working collaboratively with their elected officials. That's the end of the article. And that exactly is the point. What are Scientology trying to achieve here? As protesters, we work very closely with Sussex Police, with the local council, and any but other stakeholders with regard to organising our protest, our demonstration, so that it is safe, so that it has minimal disruption to the local community, so that we are able to exercise our freedom of speech and our right to assembly without causing too many issues for local residents. We work collaboratively with everybody involved because we want to respect everybody else's rights, and we want to respect the rule of law and the local government. Scientology's approach, however, is to literally throw the toys out of the pram and attack anybody who doesn't just agree with them 100%. What are they trying to achieve here by attacking their own elected official? It's outrageous, but as I said, the only thing you can do is laugh, because the logic has completely gone out of the Church of Scientology's mind. Sir, you guys, Scientology claim to be the most logical, thing in the world. Where's the logic here? You are not winning people over by attacking them. If you want to get your protest ban over the line, or if you want to be considered as a genuine religious movement with legitimate interests in the local area, maybe you shouldn't start attacking the people who represent you. That's not really the best idea, if you ask me. But hey, what do I know? That's just my opinion. It's working for us, working collaboratively with people and dealing with people with kindness and compassion at the forefront of our activism. Yeah, it works for us. Maybe it would work for you too, Scientology, but we all know that's not going to happen, because Scientology have to follow the policies written by L. Ron Hubbard that were laid out in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, which say, basically, if you don't toe the line, you are an enemy and you must be attacked under fair game. Let's have a look at some of these comments before we wrap up here. John Blues says, flunk. Yes, indeed. Flunk indeed. YRB says, question, can the council bill or charge Scientology for the cost of the application and the processing up to the point of cancellation? This is a great question, and this is a question that I did ask Mid-Sussex District Council. I phoned up the council the other day after the announcement that our PSPO protest ban was being denied and rejected. I gave the council officials a phone call and said thank you for their hard work and their dedication and the time that they had spent on genuinely reviewing all the evidence and listening to our case, watching all the live stream footage, reading all the statements, and really going through everything with the attention to detail that it required. I just wanted to say thank you, because I know that it was a big stress and a big burden on limited council resources. And I asked this exact question: can the council recover some of the costs from Scientology? Unfortunately, the answer was no. It's not something the council can try and get back from Scientology. It's just one of those costs that the council have to absorb as part of their duties and responsibilities as a local council. It sucks, I know, but it's just one of those things. However, I would say that Scientology perhaps should offer to contribute to the costs in the form of a donation, perhaps. It's not something the council can ask for, but any good moral group of people, which Scientology claims to be, would at least offer, especially when you consider they are spending over £100,000 on advertising on the London Underground. If they have cost the taxpayer £84,000 in a failed bid to ban protesters, it's only the right thing to do, and I'm sure local residents would actually appreciate that if Scientology were to offer to pay for this failed protest ban bid. But who knows, will they do it? Again, my advice, they're not going to take it, but I think it would go a long way in improving their reputation, especially improving their relationship with councillors and local elected officials who they seem to be attacking left, right, and centre. The logic is gone. Honestly, right? If Scientology offered to pay the money back, and if Scientology started treating local officials with the respect and dignity that they deserve as being civil servants, as being people who represent you in Parliament or in local government, and actually listened to local residents' concerns about the abuse that is prevalent throughout the organisation, I think people would actually start respecting Scientology a lot more. Why don't they do it? Because they can't. They have to follow the policy written by L. Ron Hubbard, which says if you are not with us, you are against us. And it says in Keeping Scientology Working, the most important policy in Scientology, that it says you're with us or against us, win or die in the attempt. Anyway, Becky says, Leany reckon they are probably in lower conditions, but are literally following LRH policy. Feel bad for the SEAL members. Yeah, and this is another point I really want to highlight, is that Scientologists are generally good people. There are definitely bad apples in the bunch. There are definitely people who try and manipulate and use Scientology to their advantage. You know, to look at Danny Masterson as an example of that. But for the most part, Scientologists are good people. They are unfortunately being lied to, they are being deceived, and they think they are helping, but in fact, what they're actually doing is harming people. So all of the people that are in Scientology doing these attacks, for the most part, they probably don't even really truly believe that that person, like Councillor Russell, is an enemy. They just have to follow orders. They've been told to attack the councillor because the councillor didn't toe the line unquestionably, and they are having to comply. And I agree, it's probably because this Scientologist or the group of Scientologists were in lower conditions. When you're in lower conditions in Scientology, you have to try and get back in good graces with the church. And one of the ways you do that is by dealing an effective blow to the enemy. So it's absolutely something that would have been directed by the Church of Scientology's Office of Special Affairs, but it would have had the name of a local Scientologist or Scientologists on it, I'm sure. Saint Hill may well be the rot. Oh, here we go. May well be the RPF. Yeah, the Rehabilitation Project Force, which is Scientology's hard manual labor prison camp that we know was disbanded, but similar to the Guardian's office, it was disbanded and renamed into the Office of Special Affairs. As far as I'm aware, the last update I got was the RPF is actually now EPF Part 2 or 3 or something, and it's just called Going on Decks. There is still hard manual labor punishments going on in Scientology. It's just no longer called the RPF. That doesn't mean it's not happening, though. Petrie now says the new hole. Yeah, exactly. Nicole said, was there logic ever there to begin with? Well, yeah, that's a whole nother debate, isn't it? I think Scientologists like to believe that their religion or their belief system is, in their opinion, logical. And it kind of does make sense when you first start with the whole idea of Dianetics, having a reactive mind and, being triggered and re-stimulated. That kind of stuff does make logical sense, but it just starts to go a bit kooky and a bit wacky when you get to the OT levels. When you start hearing about Xenu, the overgalactic warlord that dropped H-bombs on volcanoes 75 million years ago, that causes all of our stress and trauma and worries in life. That's definitely the sci-fi kooky wacky stuff. But nonetheless, whether or not it's logical is irrelevant. This organization is abusing people, and that is why we need to do what we can to raise awareness of it. Guys, that's it from me for now. If you want to support the channel, please consider using the Buy Me a Coffee link and the PayPal link in the description down below. But the best way of supporting, if you want to help out, get the message across to more people, raise public awareness, please do press that like button and leave a comment underneath the video after the live stream is finished and the live chat disappears, because that helps the algorithm push the video out to more people. And that's what's important here, is getting the message out there. Scientology are literally attacking and targeting their local officials simply because they wouldn't toe the line unquestionably. It's outrageous, and this sort of bully behavior is not something that we should tolerate. Similar to fair game, it's something that we can expect as critics or as ex-members, but it's not something we should tolerate. So guys, that's it from me. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.